Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. This is The Late Show. I'm your host, Kerry. With me, as always, he is our executive producer of the travel show, one of our executive producers of the travel show, and my trustees co-host, in pain from surgery, Brad Hatcher. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm here. I'm working. This is my office. I got to set up in here because my bedroom is actually tiny, and it's like the bed and then wall. So I'm not a small person. So
No.
I asked for a big bed, and it takes up the entire room.
Oh,
But
like my bed in the tent in 168.
yes, just like that.
Yes.
Yeah, except
Uh,
I got headroom. So,
oh yeah. Yeah.
but, so all right, I think we have should have a nice little discussion for you guys tonight. Couldn't line up an eyewitness.
Even though we
Got quite a few in the wings coming up. So we'll have some. Not that I don't think it'll be a good show with Mr. Barry Browning, one of the stars of 168 Hours. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. How about y'all?
Oh, it's doing all right, but I got over it.
glad you're with us. Hopefully you'll have some quiet eyewitness tales for us.
Some quiet eyewitness tale.
Yes, some non advertised.
Oh, possibly.
Just a thought.
Possibly.
Just a thought.
Well, hey, while everybody's coming in, before we get started, remind everyone, keep it clean for us in the chat. We do appreciate it very much. There are kids watching, and as a matter of fact, one of those kids had a birthday Wednesday, and I'm sorry I missed it. Dixie Dobbins, mine and Linda's adopted niece. She watches every show. Jason's
Happy
daughter,
birthday.
Dixie, turned 11. So happy birthday, Dixie.
Happy birthday.
We'll see if Aunt Linda can put something together to send to you.
If y'all see me jet for like 3 seconds here in a minute, I'm gonna grab a bottle from a dog next time it comes through here. An empty plastic bottle, but he may stay in there and leave me be, but I doubt it.
So I understand that Bailey's right here next to me. So
it's Brad and Bailey. I told Brad that's what you need to put for his name. Put Bradley and Bailey because Bailey's got his own fan club. Before we get into anything, if you weren't here for the last show, just remind everyone we are Bigfoot Odyssey. The Bigfoot Odyssey family is sponsoring a family for Christmas this year. We did it year before last. Didn't do it last year because we were in need ourselves. So we were blessed enough to have help. So this is something we're just going to do every year. And we're going to be taking up collections until December 15th. Bigfoot Odyssey is putting in everything the new film makes up until December 15th. Minimum of $1,000. If it doesn't hit $1,000, which it probably won't, unless it just takes off, it's possible. But if it goes over 1,000, we'll do that, but no less than that. So we'll just make up the difference for whatever that is. And so far, 22 people have responded, and some very generous people. And I know this family is going to greatly appreciate that. So it is a single mother, husband. They were married 16 years. Todd, he just passed away, 38 years old from COVID, September 3rd. 14-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, 12 or 13, who's with autism, and an 8-month-old baby. And we really want to give them something to feel good about here at the end of this year. So you guys are awesome. All right. There is going to be a link. I think I'll go ahead and post that. There's a link for you guys to use. Don't put it here on the super chats because YouTube's going to take 40%. Not that we mind YouTube taking anything. They give us this platform to use, but we want the family to get as much as possible. So we do appreciate you guys very much. All right. Barry, how are you, man? I haven't seen you, but maybe twice since Florida. How you been?
Good. I was leaving you alone because I know what you had on your plate.
A lot going on. I haven't even started on part 2. Like I told everybody, it's going to be the first of the year. Working here, we're opening up a bunch of new wells and a lot of stuff going on. So I have everything here to do it.
It's part of it. I really enjoyed part 1 though. I did. I mean,
with what we had to work
you
with,
did a great job on it.
yeah, thank goodness for Mark and Melanie's Ask You and what they provided. They're getting them all the time, and Crypto Reality actually is back on YouTube. So if you guys want to go and check out Crypto Reality on YouTube, they have a Patreon. Also, it's $1.99 a month, but he just puts awesome stuff up there all the time. But he is putting stuff back on YouTube again. So, and another thing, Sasquatch Chronicles, our good friend Wes Germer, they have an app now, and you can find it in the App Store, obviously, where you find all the apps. Sasquatch Chronicles app, it makes it so easy. It was once you download it, you just there's so much content there. I use it when I'm driving. If I drive like 14 hours, that's what I hit, Sasquatch Chronicles app. So you guys go and make sure you check that out.
We'll do that.
All right. I'll tell you, I'll put a link to it in the description after the show. So, all right, Barry, what you been up to, man? Tell us something good.
I'm sorry. Say it again, Kerry. I'm getting a lot of metal type noise sounds with you.
With me?
Yeah.
Brad, you hearing me okay?
Make sure it's not me. Usually it's me.
Brad, are you hearing me okay? Brad's muted.
I'm muted.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Brad, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
I'm just Scooby Snacks.
I thought you slipped into a portal.
Yeah.
I was mentally in a portal. I was just wondering what you've been up to, Barry Browning.
Man, just work, trying to get out and hit in the woods whenever I can. Been doing some stuff with, of course, Sawdust Beast and a few new folks, but just trying to make the best of things. You know how it is these days.
Yes, sir, I do. I do indeed. What's so have you been going out much, or
I'll get in the spurts and go, and then I won't. But then on the other hand, I'm lucky enough to be as a crow flies probably a half mile, quarter mile from the trace. So I can get on the natural trace and get lost real quick, and take advantage of that as much as I can. But just probably hadn't been overdoing it by any means. Probably would like to do a little bit more than I have, but haven't been hampered by, as the year before when you couldn't get out as much.
Now, up in that area, do you find a good bit of sign?
Oh yeah.
I mean, just blatantly obvious stuff,
Oh yeah. I mean, you can ride down the trace and just, I mean, it's right there. I mean, all kinds of stuff. Be honest with you, Kerry,
be honest with it.
I know I hate when I say that because it sounds like I'm being dishonest to everything else I say.
you know.
Yeah, me and Brad say a lot.
Yes.
Don't make me ask for Iron Dogger, brother.
Hey.
I get it right here. I'm right on the edge, right on the northeast side of Clinton, which of course touches Jackson, Mississippi. I've got sign in Clinton. I've found sign in Jackson city limits.
But there's a lot of forest corridors going through there. Yeah, a lot of green belts. It's like it's all connected. Any quote unquote big city in Mississippi, anywhere in Mississippi, has got woods running through it.
Right.
So it's not surprising that you say that.
Right. They come right down. As a matter of fact, I have, I can't say for sure, but I've come out my front door twice. About the time I got to the end of the little walkway to round to the driveway, heard what I thought was two whoops. Not the same night, a couple months apart. But it wouldn't surprise me because I mean I could go to where I heard that whoop at and go from there to the trace and never cross the road if I didn't want to.
Do you know Mike? Do you know Mike Causey?
Oh yeah, very well. I
Do
talked.
you know where he was? Do you know where he researched?
I researched it.
Do you?
Used to a little bit more than I have, but I've got somebody new friend I've made, a guy named Jay Tucker, that does Baltic Nightmares. That's the area that we're looking at.
I talked to Jay last night.
Did you? I knew I'd give him your number. Yeah, matter of fact, I talked with him. He said something about Mike. I talked with Mike today or last night, one via messenger about his encounter, because his is one of the he's like yourself. He does a very, very, very good job of explaining everything. A lot better job than I do, I have to admit.
The one he told me where essentially he was chased. I've told this before, but I'll tell it again. He was gifting or pretty much feeding these things, or these creatures. I call them things. I don't mean anything by it. They really don't mean that much to me, but I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just don't know what else to call them. I get kicked in the teeth over calling them things, and I got kicked in the teeth over calling them creatures. And that just comes from the word create, as in a creation of God. Right. So I digress. I diverge, as Brad would say.
Diverge, yeah.
He was gifting, and I think he would put like mangoes. I think he said mangoes they really liked. But he had a cooler, and it was partially buried in the ground. Right. And he would take and go, and he'd take these mangoes to this place off in the middle of the woods, open the cooler lid, put the mangoes in, shut it, hang out for a while, do his thing, and then leave. Come back, lid's shut still, mangoes are gone. Well, he went down there one day and forgot to go by the grocery store, right?
Forgot his wallet.
Oh, is that what it was? He went, he forgot. He went to do it, but forgot his wallet. Okay.
Right.
And so he didn't bring anything.
And on his defense, I'm not trying to interrupt his defense, this is 2010, 2008, maybe.
Yeah.
When you had half the people saying you could feed them and half the people saying not feed them.
Right. At least he wasn't feeding them at his house, but that didn't really matter in this case, did it?
They showed up for dinner.
They showed up anyway. So he's down there, and he goes down anyway, even though he doesn't have anything to bring, and does his thing, starts back toward the car, gets less than halfway, and starts hearing what he described as a zoo, essentially, like monkeys at the zoo, not far behind him, like hollering, screaming, breaking limbs. So he kind of picks up the pace toward the truck. All of a sudden, green pine cones start coming in from several different directions, like being thrown at him. So he takes off running. Well, they're paralleling him, running beside him, screaming and hollering at him. I guess because he didn't bring them anything to eat this time. It really upset him. He actually makes it to his car, gets in, he's relieved, drives home. Was it 50 miles to the house?
Yeah.
Drives home. That night, 2:00 in the morning, him and his wife are laying in bed, and hears bam hitting the wall right above the bed where their outside wall is in the bedroom. Just every few minutes, bam, another lick. Well, his wife looks at him and says, "You need to go talk to him or do something."
Well, actually,
I don't want to laugh at that, but I could just imagine.
I know this is because I've listened to it it's weird. I've listened to it in the last 24 hours. They went through 3 nights of that.
Was it that long?
3 nights. Yeah. He said every time we would drift off to sleep, bam, on the house. And after the 3rd night, her as a non-believer, told him, you need to go talk to these things. And he did. And told him he apologized, told him he forgot his wallet, he couldn't get any food, and lo and behold, that house never got hit again after that.
Yeah, well, what he told me was he had gone out on the porch and it was screened in, and there was a window just from where he was standing, and he just said, "Hey, look," the way he said it was funny to me. He says, "Look, y'all, I'm sorry." He's apologizing. I didn't bring anything. I know, I apologize. Will not happen again. Goes through the whole spill. Well, he said a rock hit that window Right
That's
beside
right.
him,
Yep.
as if it was some kind of acknowledgement.
Right.
And then that was it. That was the end of it. Nothing else happened. But we're talking about 50 miles.
Right.
Did they know where he lived? Could they have followed him that far? That is what blows me away about the whole thing, is that either they must have known where he lived because he'd been doing this for years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Could they have followed him?
God, that is trippy.
I'm gonna do my hypothesis, or however you want to put theory.
Give it up.
I think once you frequent their area, it's almost to me like, and I correlate this with the whoops across the street. About a month before that, I had gotten some very good audio from right there here off the Big Black River. But I think once you frequent the area enough, however they do it, I can't really say I know how they do it. But I think they figure out where you live in case you come out there and you want to, act crazy, different than you've been acting the whole, anything goes awry. I think they know how to find you. I think it just benefits them. They can't really stop you from coming a lot of times without really letting themselves be known. Although with Mike, Mike hadn't seen a little one. And it's really neat to hear his story because when he's talking about it, I've walked down the same path he walked down where he saw that little one. Matter of fact, he says there was a turn in the path. I got growled at right there at that turn one time. And I looked like a little soldier the way I chin hut and then just right back to the truck.
What kind of growl was it? Like,
just that low.
Get out of here.
Just as you think, you really are. That it's going. You feel it first, a split second before you feel it, but you kind of think you're hearing it even when you feel it, you realize, that at first you did feel it, then you started to hear it. Just a low growl. And I was with another researcher, and we literally, after the fact, I told him, I said, we acted so out of character. I said, because he looked at me and said, "Did you hear that?" And I was like, "Growl?" He goes, "Yeah." And we just didn't discuss anything. We just turned right back around and started walking right back toward the vehicle and just talking about it. It was just very out of character, I think, for both of us, but I know we were both very taken aback by it. But that's a very interesting area right there. Later on, when we further got back into their back, where he would have been leaving the cooler, I saw just the amount of trails that were back there. There weren't game trails. It was just so obvious. They'd be literally 3 and 4 feet apart. Just trails, just going every direction. I sat there one time, literally just spinning, just turning in a circle, looking at it. It's the first time I'd walked up on trails like that. But and I always, I was out there, matter of fact, a week and a half ago, and I just thought about it. I forgot all about this. I actually pulled the phone out and recorded because I said, if I ever put it out there, I said, I just want, because it was so flipping quiet. It was 6:30. It was right before the time change, probably about, 6:30, 7 o'clock. It was getting dark. And I got out of the truck, had the new puppy with me because I've been taking him a lot of different places like that, just trying to get him used to some things. I got out of that truck and it wasn't 2 seconds after I got out of the truck. I was like, whoa, there's not it was nothing. You couldn't hear the wind blowing. You couldn't hear a bird. You couldn't hear,
That'll creep you out. That will creep you out a little bit.
It really will.
What'd your dog do when it was like that? Did he perk up at all, or?
No, the one thing is he is deaf.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So thanks for picking on the puppy, bro. No, but so he didn't pick up on anything. I've seen him do some things. I thought he was picking up on something. I know we were in the woods one day and he literally jumped and did a 180 and landed facing another direction off of nothing but sight and smell. But he had something behind us he caught hold of. But and that kind of startled me. But he did not pick up on that. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really give him a whole lot of time to pick up on it. It was with a quickness. It was very, very getting dark very, very quickly. And I was, I had been out there before, and come out of there, and luckily the trees weren't really thick, weren't really anything that was to deal with, but have had trees down on the way out of there. There's two ways out of there, but I always come in from one way. In that area, and what Mike went through a lot, I'll be honest, just stories like that and hearing people's encounters, that probably led me to treat them with a lot more respect. Just hearing encounters and things that had happened like that. I mean, I'll admit, if I'm off in an area, especially by myself, I try to talk as much as I can to them, as crazy as that sounds.
Well, you talking about growls, and we had Bill on here Wednesday. And if you haven't heard that one, absolutely incredible story. Probably the most incredible story we've had on here was a Bill Wednesday. And a lot of people are like, I don't buy it. I had to talk him in to coming on the show. He called me with no intention of doing the show. I was like, look, man, you got to tell this. You got to. You can turn your camera off. You got to put your real name up. Bill's not his real name, by the way. But so just kind of keep that in mind. A lot of times when you see that someone on here, I've had to talk them that turns their camera off. I've had to talk them into doing it. So, because people just call me to tell me, hey, look, I need to talk to somebody about this, because they want somebody that's going to believe them. And I believe everybody that says they saw one. So, but he talking about a growl, and he described it as good as anybody ever has. He said he's heard all kind of animals his whole life. He said it resembled a tiger growl. Mm-hmm. And I've got one right here I want you guys to listen to. I gotta hit play, don't I? So I can turn it on.
I thought you were gonna wiggle your.
That's it. That's it. Would go lower and mix that tiger and make it sound a little more demonic. I'm not saying that they're demonic. I'm just saying the sound of the growl, and it seemed like a little slower too, like how you can hear the
right
on that growl. It was slower.
But that's deep.
And a lot longer. But that will.
You almost can feel that.
Oh yeah, I felt it first. I didn't realize it right at first, but at first I felt it a split second before we heard it. You were trying to make me jump, weren't you?
Hey, look, man, I didn't know that was gonna happen, but that guy sure look that wire, he wasn't confident in it, was he? But I mean,
that's so wrong.
Just imagine yourself being in the woods. You're alone, you're walking trail, hiking, whatever. And you hear that, you're going to need a diaper.
Well,
you're going to have to go.
That's why you carry a pistol, at least.
A big one.
Well,
I mean, that's freeze terrified instantly to me.
And I admit I'm one that does not carry a lot. I'm getting away from that. Jay's getting me away from that. He's, but I've probably gone some places that I should, And
Jay probably carries in a grocery store.
24/7, 365. Yeah, but he's actually, I mean, he's retired law, so he can do. I mean, it's like he told me, he said, it's the only way I feel comfortable. He said, I don't have it with me, I just don't feel comfortable. And he's carried one for so long, that's just the way it is. I should have been carrying probably a lot of places that I've been to, and it wasn't and I would say right now, it wasn't out of bravery. I didn't care. It's more out of stupidity, probably.
Just not thinking about it. What, you ever watch Criminal Minds?
Yeah, used to.
Watch Criminal Minds. Just about 2 or 3 episodes. You'll start carrying something.
Yeah,
because there's just people out there that are.
And I've usually got weapons. I mean, I've usually got I walk in the grocery store, I'm gonna have 3 knives on me regardless. I carry 3 knives around at all times. That's just, I do.
Brad actually gave me and I don't.
Ow.
It stays with me.
That hurt. Yeah.
Oh, he's got his too. Look,
wow.
There's Bailey.
I'm not in that club, Bradley.
Oh, Santa's coming.
Bradley, guess who got a birthday next week?
Is it next week? I was thinking of just Christmas. So you like the combo presents?
Hey, my birthday's been getting mixed in with Christmas my whole life. So I'm cool with that.
Linda's too.
You're bitter, but that's okay.
Linda too. Linda gets the birthday Christmas gift.
Yeah.
But you know what though? It's like when you go hunting and you're going out to do something with the feeder and you leave the gun back at the house, or even though I always left it in the truck, but even if you get out to go do something, you don't have a gun on you, you're gonna see something. It's kind of like the way it always is, or the weekend before deer season, you're gonna see the massive buck.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's
that's right though. That's how it happens.
It always happens that way.
I never chopped up so much, as people, granted there is, I mean, and I have walked up in a couple times on some folks that it was kind of, I really still to this day don't know why they were where they were, and they were probably thinking the same about me. But in Mississippi, there's, I'm lucky enough to be in the part of Mississippi that we don't have a lot of hog signs right in this general area. You get out from here, yes, you got a lot of, hour away, you got a whole lot of it. But just for the hog value, I should have been carried. I mean, to be honest with you, just factoring that in. But I had been, walking the woods my whole life without a weapon, for a large part of it. So it just wasn't something at the forefront of my mind. But I've been talked into the fact of respecting the presence of that weapon and what it, if you do need it, it is there. So
yeah.
That's something that's probably changing with me as far as my race, getting out and doing this. I will be carrying more, but I'm also getting into some.
Or you just rather have it and not need it,
Yeah,
well, especially if it's at least a pistol and you have it under your shirt or whatnot, just because you hear about where if they understand theoretically, in my opinion, that you hear from other people as well, that they know what a firearm is, what a rifle is.
At least that it's not good, probably.
Right. So, do you want to carry one where they can see it, or do you want to carry one where they can't see it?
Look, I've had people tell me that they're just going to know.
I've heard that too.
You can hide it, and whatever they do, read your mind. I don't know, that they just will know, and you won't get as much interaction. Which, for me,
I don't think you will at first, but I think, especially if it's an area you've been to, and they kind of have seen your demeanor and maybe understand that you're not there for any bad reasons. I think you'll get a little bit more. If you just hit a new area with one, I could definitely see them staying back. But they do the same thing with even your camera on your phone. I mean, they'll it seems like the least electronics I have, other than a voice recorder, there's always, especially in the newer area, you're going to get a little bit less until they really get used to you.
I don't want to forget this. Here's a question: if you're not used to carrying all the time, do you personify the fact that you're carrying when you're in the woods, even if it is concealed? Do you get that strut of, I'm carrying my gun out in the woods, kind of the boyhood excitement?
I don't think possibility, at first, but once you get in there and see some sign and start to run up on some things that you think they've done, I mean that weapon is kind of, I know at the 168th the year that before the what hit, it sent us all home after the 3 different places that we went. I know Jeff Townsend was just beside himself that, Barry, you're going to carry.
Yeah, I know. He said the same thing to me.
He made me carry. So
me too. Brought me a 10mm. I told him no. I think, what did he give it to you? Because I already had mine with me. Yeah, but it wasn't a 10mm. But I was bailing on it. I was like, man, Jeff, don't I don't need all.
But
Jeff took his job seriously. He did.
But do you think people personify the fact that they're carrying a gun on them?
I think it's possible, but I don't. Like I said,
Think about-
once you get out there and really get going, you're thinking about everything else. You're trying to, I mean, especially once you've done this for a while, because you're trying to. I'm always trying to look at things without blatantly looking at things sometimes, especially things off in the distance and so forth.
Well, Barry, growing up when we did, South Mississippi, in that area, when you were a kid, you're used to carrying a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like a given. If you, especially you run into somebody in the woods, if 11, 12 and up, usually they were going to have something 22, 410 and up and on up. We do have people ask some questions. Y'all, if y'all want to ask questions, that's fine. Post them all in caps, so I'll notice them. John, go ahead and what you were going to finish there, Barry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I interrupted too. So.
Oh no, y'all go ahead. I've lost. I'm on to the next thing now.
You're on to the next. All right. Well, here's John's 3. He's got a question. He says, "Are there more sightings due to growing Bigfoot population or more people coming forward? What do you think?"
That's a good question.
Both. If you really look up, I did this about 5-7 years ago. As far as actual land that's been cleared off now compared to the 1900s, or turn of the century of 1900, there's not a drastic amount of more land that's been cleared off. Yes, we've cleared off land here, but there's other places that were cleared off then that have grown, and gone back to forest. But the percentage was very, very, wasn't that far off. A lot more people getting into the woods. But I honestly believe the populations of them growing. I know in Mississippi, the 1900s, and I even know this from watching my grandfather in Neshoba County. I mean, when they went deer hunting, they didn't deer hunt, and he lived in the country. He didn't deer hunt. You never saw a deer. I can remember, back then. Of course, Mississippi was first populated with blacktail. A lot of folks don't realize that. It was whitetail. Right. They brought it in from Mexico to repopulate the deer population. But they would have, they would go and camp and sleep in sleeping bags on the ground and be gone for a week on horseback and be gone for a week and a half when they went deer hunting. But that's what they had to do to go find, the deer. They just weren't like they were now. They didn't, they just weren't everywhere. They weren't, eating. You couldn't wake up now, night, look outside, and they're out, out in their yard grazing. I mean,
oh yeah. Well, now Mississippi is the second largest population of deer state wise. Texas is first. Mississippi is second with about 3.5 million white-tailed deer. That's what they estimate. And so yeah, look, when you talk about populations, and I use this for scale all the time. As I did a little math experiment with my buddy John Tate. Kind of clued me into it. So I did the math on it. And there's a county in Texas, Culberson County, Texas. It's on the west wing out there. It looks like Nevada, except it's flipped around the other way. Mm-hmm. It's about 3,800 square miles. You take every person on the planet. If you do 8 billion people, give them all 13 square feet, they'll all fit in Culberson County, Texas. There's only about 340, depending on who you ask, 350 million people in the United States. And most of those are concentrated on the coasts. Right. The interior of the United States is pretty sparsely populated. 55% of the United States has never been foot surveyed.
Right.
According to Lloyd Pye. And I trust that's true. And that was 20 years ago when he said that. So maybe it's half by now, but I mean, there's still plenty of room for these creatures to go. I think it leans more toward people coming forward. It's a lot less taboo now to talk about Sasquatch because of Sasquatch Chronicles first. You got to give it to them. You just gotta. We're all standing on the shoulders of the people that came before us, and then Wes is one that will tell you really quick. He has a lot of respect for those that came before, that forged the path for the rest of us that are trying to do this, that are trying to get people to just pay attention and be aware that there is this creature out there and you could possibly run into it, to prepare yourself. But that's the thing. I think more people are coming forward. You don't know how many people call me that will never be on the show. They just want someone to talk to about their encounter. I'm the Bigfoot therapist here.
You are. You are.
I mean, and we need.
But I
more.
don't give advice or anything. I just, I
Right.
just listen.
And a lot of times that's all they need. They want somebody
It is.
that knows that what they know about them as far as them being real, and that will just listen to them.
Man, I hear some wild stuff. Some crazy stuff.
My,
But the thing, if I can finish, the thing is,
sorry,
how many I hear that are 30, 40 years old. They've been keeping it that long from when they were a teenager or early 20s, and these people are older, just from the 70s, 80s, maybe early 90s. Not a lot of recent stuff that we're getting. You get some that are recent, but most of the ones I get, this is how long people have been holding on to this. So yeah, I think they're coming forward more now. Go ahead, Barry.
I meant to say this earlier when we were talking about Mike. If anybody wants to listen to that, and because I listened to it last night, episode 349, Sasquatch Chronicles.
Yes, 349.
349 is Mike's. He had gone on a few shows, but a lot of them have gone by the wayside. Just over the years, and their content's just not out there. And that was one thing I was kind of discussing with him on Messenger. I was like, I would hate for his encounter to kind of, to go by the way. I think it's very important for people to hear it. And
absolutely.
Look,
there's a stark.
That thing screamed at Mike on his way back to his car. That thing screamed at him, and it knocked him forward. He said that, he said, I'm assuming the scream knocked me forward. He said, I never felt nothing hit me, he said, but it screamed. I landed on all fours, sliding forward, and I think he threw up right there. And then back up straight to the car.
Wow.
I mean, now you take somebody and that's one thing, and I've said it before about Kerry's encounter. You take somebody who's been going out and just thinks, man, maybe up in the Pacific Northwest, but not down here, and then it's right there in front of them. It's cruel to do that to a lot of people. I'm blessed, and a lot of my sightings have been at distances, like good distance, and even the ones that were closer, there was a lot of foliage in between the two of us. Take like Donnie Miller's. I know you had Donnie on late recently, but like his encounter when he, the thing is literally 3 feet behind him.
Aggressive.
Right. And if you don't think these things exist whatsoever, and then you go to an encounter like that, I mean, it's a wonder that it just doesn't drive some of them off the deep end. I think it would have me.
Well, as much as we can't be sure about these creatures, there is a lot you can learn from listening to other people's encounters, if you believe what they're saying. And for the most part, I do. I can't.
I think it helps a lot.
I can't think of anybody myself personally, but you listen to that. 339, you said?
349.
349. Okay.
Yes,
I was in stark contrast to that action. And for what I went through, mine was 444. I talked to Tommy Eugene today, hoping he'll come on the show at some point. Listen to his Sasquatch Chronicles 442. You can get the app, go right to it, where he was saved from drowning as a little boy. Incredible.
I remember that
Incredible,
story,
and especially the way he tells it. So if that's human, there's no set behavior, if you will, for these creatures. They just don't all act the same. And you can kind of say that about most animals, but most animals are bound by instinct, and these creatures are not. They can subdue, their own natural drives, I guess, and just decide to do whatever they want.
Saved him from drowning?
Absolutely. As a little boy.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I guess, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, the little boy that got lost in the woods, what was it, North Carolina or Virginia or someplace?
North Carolina.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he say a bear rescued him, and then his parents, shut it down pretty quickly?
He did, and I think all of us that are into this, when we saw that come across the news about a bear, we just all sat there and smiled. Yeah, okay. A bear.
A bear. Damien
But,
K.
yeah,
Damien K says, personally have not much to talk about, but can show more. He's actually got a channel and some eyebrow raising stuff over there at Damien K. He sends me links all the time. I check it out when I can, but it make your head itch. You're just kind of looking at it like that's something. You know, some pretty, and then some of it is kind of obvious, but yeah, you guys should check out Damien K for sure. I'm looking for questions here. Go ahead, Barry. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just shooting from the hip. That's one. You know, when you really think about it, I mean, I'm one that goes with the Melba Ketchum study. What she did. I mean, they would. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't. Why would you destroy somebody like they destroyed her?
Yeah,
top DNA experts in her field to being able to basically not being hardly even able to get a job. But
That's disgraceful what they did to her.
And that's the way I describe them. It's like you take an animal and the quickness of the decisions in the forest and everything else that they do, but now you've got it mixed with human intelligence, and that's not how that happened. That's a whole different road to go down. But that's what you have. That's what you have with them. And they do things that are amazing. I've seen. I had a sighting on the trace southeast of here, probably about 35 miles. It was chasing a deer, and it wasn't a huge one. It was chasing a deer, and he literally. And I was sitting there. It was like 6:30 in the morning. I may be mistaken on this because, like I said, everything's happening so fast, especially when they're really moving with the quickness. But when his head cocked to the right and caught wind of my truck, I swear I think the next step to hit the ground was going in another direction. And he cut at less than a 90-degree angle. He cut at about a 75-degree angle. Never lost speed. Never. I mean, nothing. But like it was just. I mean, it was amazing. And I had a tree between. I had a tree that had double trunks on it that had been blown up from a storm. Because I had seen the tree there before. It's a place that I frequent a lot. That's how fast they make decisions and can do things. I don't remember whose show I was on recently about. The prints that mysteriously just disappear. A lot of people don't realize how far these things can jump from a standing jump. And I've never seen one jump from a standing, but I've heard other people talk about it. That's where the animal in them comes out. I mean, it's something a human couldn't do, but I mean, they can do some amazing things that you just never would dream they could do. I've had them run across the road and literally couldn't catch them with my eyes until literally coming out of the wood line on the right, and it's just, at the time I don't know what I'm looking at. It goes into by the time it went to the wood line on the left side of the road, I finally caught up with it. My eyes did. And the only reason I think I saw that one is because I had just passed a turn that I had missed because I was looking at a tree about a foot in diameter that had been pushed over. That's why I missed the road. But I just spun my truck around right quick. Just probably put the right tires, just a little bit off the pavement and just spun it around actually. And I actually started catching him coming out of the woodline on the right before my truck even straightened up. I was already, and I mean, I remember that. I remember because I spun the truck around. It's like once I saw him, my whole body just froze. Truck came to a stop and then right into the wood line on the left. But they do some amazing things physically that people just don't understand and just can't grasp. The spider crawling. I haven't seen it in person. I talked to some people and watched some stuff. And one with Kane Michael, he gave a very good description on his channel, House of Enoch, about it. A couple of 3 years back, but just the way that they can, I mean, literally, it's like a car. It's like you would see, like, what was it, Yogi or the way they were, and it may be the wrong cartoon, but I mean, just the way they can hold their arms out and literally be on their fingertips. and then the speed that they can get while in that position moving is amazing. From what they say. I haven't personally seen it.
You hear it described as cartoon fast. I've heard that from several different people. Like it's,
When that was running across the road, you remember how the Tasmanian devil, they'd have him in a circle, but they had like a lot of like dirt and that's kind of the way it was. That's kind of the way it was. It was blonde in color. It was huge. I mean huge. And really didn't pick up on how huge it was till after the fact because of just how quick it was moving. But that's the way it kind of the way it was. Is my eyes were trying to catch it. Just like a bunch of movement, but you really couldn't tell what was moving. It was just a bunch of movement. But some of the stuff they can do, it's just out of this world.
We had a question. Go ahead, Brad. You had something?
No,
yeah, I was just going to ask you, Barry, when you saw that one chasing the deer and then it did the quick turn, how long did you sit there afterwards?
Have you heard me talk about it?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
I'll give a little bit of background on it. I had been a little bit of a relationship dispute during the night. A lot of heated discussion. We'll put it that way. And I just wanted to go somewhere and just get away. I went to that area, knowing that's usually why I was there, but that really wasn't why I was there that morning. But Riley, remind me of the question. What would you ask again? My bad.
Brad, what was the question again?
Say what?
What was the question again?
Who?
You asked him a question. What was it?
I got puppy over here. I keep looking at it and it got me distracted.
Okay. I was just saying, how long did you sit there when?
Probably 30 minutes, 25 minutes. I was just stunned. And now I'll tell you how stunned I was. Had been researching for a while, never got out of the truck and walked up there and looked at anything. I was halfway home when I was like, wait a minute. So
yeah, no, I can understand that perfectly.
Did some things that day, and then right back down there that afternoon to try to I didn't catch any definite footprints, but was able to kind of deduce that it was from what I could gather about a 75-degree angle that it cut at, and like I said, didn't miss a step. And
there's several things going on there, right? First, you've just confirmed a belief. That's one thing. But it's shocking. It's just a stunning thing. Even if you already have awareness, and even maybe if you caught a glimpse of something you weren't sure of, to see something you're sure that's what it is, one of these creatures. It has this profound effect on you. Darren Franks asked a question. Yeah. He asked, "What state are there more sighting?" And if I remember correctly, if you go to the BFRO, the most reported sightings, because who knows who's seen what where, is Washington State, Pennsylvania, and Florida, and they're all pretty close. And that's just since 1995 that they started reporting these things. But you do have some in there that are from before, but they've been collecting them since then. So it's I think it's those three, but there are a bunch of states that are kind of close in there, like East Coast, the Carolinas, Virginia. Yeah. So sorry, Darren, it took me so long to get to you.
But like my sightings, I've never gone anywhere and listed them on any website or so because there's so you kind of got you can kind of get a feel. I think back in the BFRO was a lot more useful back in the day when people before and it helped people to get out there and start telling about what they see. But there are so many sightings. A lot of folks, you got to think when they see it, one of the first things they're going to do is call the authorities. Well, you're never going to hear about it once they call the authorities. I promise you that. I promise you that. And I've picked up on a couple of things I think they do, around here when there starts to be a few too many sightings, in different places. I've seen some bridges closed that were literally 2 months old, never touched, never worked on it again, but yet closed that bridge down for 8 or 9 months, then bam, right back open. Never did. I mean, I would check it, never did one stitch of work to it after they shut it down the second time. I think that's a way that they used sometimes to eliminate sightings. You know, I mean, you're looking at a rural road. You know, if you shut that bridge down, you eliminate any through traffic from seeing anything. So only the people that are living there in the direct uh, vicinity are going to be even on that road. Well, they probably already know anyway.
I think national forest. I think there's a extremely high percentage, and you got DeSoto up there, right around that area, Bienville. But national forests, I think, are, if I'm not mistaken, again, a extremely high percentage of sightings are happen in national forests.
I believe that. I believe honestly that was one of the reasons that they set them aside, and they've set aside so much other land, you know, since then. It's state land, wildlife management land. You know, I tell folks just getting into it, I said, just pay attention to that type stuff and get out in that type land. If you can't get on private, because a lot of times it's hard to get somebody to really let you on private property.
And you said a good thing, Barry, that I just read something recently about, you know, you have wildlife management land where people can hunt, and then you have parks where people cannot hunt. And I've heard that there's, you know, obviously if they're cognizant of, you know, what a firearm is, they're not going to see a firearm in a park that does not allow hunting. So, you know, with that being said, you know, they've insinuated that you hear more stuff in that type of park, and I don't know if it's a national park versus a state park or whatnot. But then if somebody sees one in a park like that, it's going to be like what happened in Florida. You know, they're just going to shut certain areas down.
That's true, Scott. People just don't get off trail.
They don't. I mean, a lot of hunters don't. I mean, I've never been, you know, a big hunter and done much hunting. I would rather do more fishing than hunting. But you know, I know so many people that do, and you know, most of them, and especially the ones you mentioned, this stuff like this too, they kind of scoff at it and laugh. You know, I'll kind of give it a few minutes, and I'll start asking some questions about their deer stand, where it's at, how they get there. You know, it's almost like you're saying, all the population lives, you know, right there on the coast and stuff. A lot of these hunters, you know, they're barely going into the woods really, because that's really all they have to do. That's what they have to. Why go 2 miles in the woods when you can go 200?
They're doing the same thing. They're doing the same thing every time. Very easily patterned. You're parking your truck the same spot. You walk in the same way, same shooting. I say this all the time. We're hunting over the same grass patch that you've planted. You know, it's just kind of the way around where I live anyway. And that's the big argument I had with my brother-in-laws when I used to kind of argue with them a little bit was, well, I've been hunting my whole life. I've never seen anything. I said, you're not tromping off through the thicket. No, you got a grass patch out there and you might throw some corn out or whatever. You know, they don't, by the way.
Well, in Texas, you have a feeder pen and you know, you throw 24/7 and you have a, you know, stand.
Yeah.
So they obviously know where you know, if you're on a ranch with a bunch of other guys, you know, everybody's kind of got their own spot, or else you have community stands, and, you know, people stick to those areas, and you don't go driving around a lot during the deer season, unless you're going to your stand and back.
Give somebody that knows anything about the woods, give me a ghillie suit. You will never find me.
Right.
And much less one
I'm
of these
not even
things.
a hunter, and I could do that. I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
with the camouflage, and plus you add everything else: speed, strength, intelligence. You know, the will to not be seen, to not be discovered.
Right.
It's impossible. They are absolutely impossible to study. That is why I just kind of look sideways at some of these things people say about breeding habits and migration, and you know, they're
the Bigfoot mating call.
Yeah, they're probably good theories. They probably and may be true, but you know, when you assert it as fact, you're not making yourself look very good.
And a lot of times they don't think, you know, a lot of times when they assert that as fact, they assert it as fact across the board. When we've proven so many times that there's a lot of stuff that just isn't across the board with it, you know, it just doesn't cover the whole gamut of all the, you know, the ones that we have just here in North America. They just do different things in different places, do it a little bit different way, such as tree structures. I've always tried to make the argument for tree structures, guaranteed most of them have more than one meaning. It just makes sense to me. It just makes sense to me to have more than one meaning,
Well, why would they all behave the same and know the same things and act the same way?
Right.
I always equate it to the Native Americans, and I don't try to offend anybody when I do that. It's just a comparison because they lived here for thousands of years, not connected. Spoke, the 80 major tribes and over 400 offshoots of those just in the United States, not counting First Nations. They all spoke different languages. They weren't connected. So it made sense that they would have, different different means of communication. Why wouldn't Sasquatch be the same way unless they are connected somehow? That there's a mothership and they get the message, from
I'm a firm believer
singularity.
that they do speak. I think I don't think they could sit down and write a term paper out, in a senior English class, but I do think they understand certain English words. And I do think that there are some old native tongues, Native American tongues that they still hold on to, just from audio I've received, just to, listening. I catch a whole lot more what sounds like two Native Americans with very, very deep voices talking than I do anything that sounds like the Sierra sounds. I'm not saying anything there's anything wrong with the Sierra sounds, because that was one of the things that grabbed me by the neck and just drug me in here. Was the first time I heard those. It's like, wow. But my experience is I haven't, recorded a lot of that stuff. But you do get, I do get a lot of stuff where they're mumbling you can just, it's like they're right off, they just right out, close enough where you can just barely hear them. But of course, even if you knew that tongue, I don't think you could still tell exactly what they were saying, because it's, they're just far enough away. But I do. And that's why I talk to them going into. It may just make me feel better. I know it does for a little bit, and maybe that's the only reason. Maybe if that's the only impact it's having, so be it. But I honestly think that they kind of get wind of a lot of stuff that you say.
Well, anything anybody does in this subject is self-serving to a degree. I do this for me. Absolutely. Not ashamed to admit it. I think most people do research for themselves just to either get some confirmation or just want to learn something about them, and maybe try to get close and maybe possibly figure something out real quick. Welcome to the Bigfoot Odyssey family, Angie B. Sorry about that. There's no program here. We just kind of sat down and rolled.
Well, Kerry, I agree with you on that. I just drew a blank on what I was agreeing on, because then I was thinking about
we do this for
somebody in the
ourselves.
family.
People do this for themselves,
Well,
and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like helping the needy family. And I talked about this the other night. Why do we do that? We do that to make ourselves feel better. Yeah, well, I can think of worse reasons to help somebody. We do it. We give what we have because we care. It's as simple as that. Yeah, that's why we do it. We've been helped ourselves. And we have the ear of thousands of people. Why don't more people do this? At least try.
Well, it's helpful because as I've said many times, I started watching YouTube stuff to understand my own validation, and that kind of leads you in certain directions, depending on how far and how deep you want to get into it. And I think we're all trying to figure this thing out in a group setting or by ourselves. Just my opinion, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, in my opinion. No. And that's one thing that's always fun about you, Barry, is you've had so much stuff happen, and you're very, and I don't want the word unassuming to sound bad, but you're just so chilled out about it. And I find that very refreshing. And it's fun to hear you say, "Oh, by the way, did I ever tell you this?"
I can remember when it seemed like nothing had happened. I've had a lot happen in the last 5 years, but and and I've heard a couple snide comments from some folks about too many things happening. But one thing you got to understand is, if you I put myself out there, just like a lot of other folks do. I can't tell you why some folks research for 40 years and don't see them. I can't tell you and wouldn't begin to even guess. But I wanted to see them. I put myself out there, and then I started just trying to associate with people that I thought were really doing it the right way or had the right intentions. That's how I ended up meeting Kerry and Bradley. That's how I ended up meeting Mark and Larry with Sawdust Beast. That's how I ended up meeting Jay with Vault of Nightmares. I just thought there was something about what they were doing. They were doing it right. But per se, and I don't know if anybody that's ever been on, I guess I kind of brag about it now. I wouldn't I still haven't, I've got evidence back there in my room that, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 people have heard this, 2 or 3 or 4 people have heard that. And I never put any of it out because at first it was more about proving it. It had been proven to me through my grandfolks and them talking about them, but never seeing one. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not the one. I can be just as jovial as jovial can be, but the minute that I think that you're trying to question me or insinuate that I might be trying to slip something by on somebody, I'm not that nice person anymore. So I kind of just kept a lot of the stuff I had to myself for years. I mean, I've got 4 years worth of outings worth of recordings that really nobody's heard, that I'm trying to go through and get out during this next year, because I finally just came to the point that I don't care. I don't care if you don't believe it. I just don't. I mean, and but it took me those 3 or 4 years to get to that point. If I'd have put that stuff out when I was first getting it, and then heard this or that about it, I would have acted totally the wrong way. I mean, I would have tried to, it's just my nature. I mean, I would have just, don't insinuate that I'm lying to you. Don't insinuate I don't know what I'm talking about. And I, wouldn't have been very nice about saying it either.
Well, you know enough now to defend it.
Right.
Better.
And also, and I've gone through enough of the crap that you go through, that I still know. I tell this to this day. She has no idea that I tell this, but I know a girl that to this day, she says the word Sasquatch. I'll bet you $100 she will not get the end of that word out before she's already giggling. Those are the things that at first really got on to me, got it stuck in my craw, so to speak, because most of those folks are also the ones, you really start questioning them. They're never in the woods. I mean, most skeptics are never in the woods. And I've been big lately on, trying to explain and hit people with, look, we all need to be skeptics. We need skeptics. We all need to be skeptical, but it's so easy for certain people to be a skeptic because they're not trying to prove you wrong. They're just, all they're going to do is say that it was either BS or, they don't believe it, and then they leave it there. And it's like, that's all you got. I mean, okay. Give me something more, tell me why it's not, most of them don't have any of that. Some of them, the ones that do, I respect that a lot more than just saying. A lot of folks in this, they just get they just get an attitude with you because then maybe they pop on your channel and and to them they're only asking questions, but in reality they're asking questions in a very demeaning manner, the way they're coming across. I've seen that 100 times, and then see those people get eliminated from that channel. We know all they're going to talk about is how, I got blocked because I asked questions. No, you didn't get blocked because you asked questions. It was the way you asked your questions.
Yeah.
They got you.
Yeah. There's a guy that claims that now that he gets blocked for that. No, it's for stirring up crap and keeping stuff going and not being very nice to others in chat. That's usually why we'll boot somebody out, or we have excellent moderators here. Our lead mod, Cashew Gesundheit, and Diane Fowler, and then several others. They do a fantastic job of that here. But you are talking about people that go out and do this for 40 years and don't see anything, and I kind of have an explanation for that, I think. And it is, I think a lot gets missed. Mm-hmm. Just because there are some people, researchers, that do this that are trying to confirm what they already believe instead of being fully open and objective as you can be as a human being, and paying attention to what's going on around you and not, well, that's not what that is. That's just a twig break. That's not what that is. Or that's not what that is. They're looking for something epic or trying to confirm what they already believe. And look, I was this way, think that we're a whole lot more proficient than we actually are in the woods.
Oh gosh, yes, I agree with that, Kerry.
You do something for 20 years the wrong way. You think you're good at it, but you're actually found wanting, so to speak. It's a tiny phrase. Go ahead, Brad. Brad, you had something to say.
I was just saying that anytime you almost think you've learned it all is when you just might as well give up. There's always something to learn, even if it's the smallest thing.
And with this,
I think that's important.
With this stuff, I go the old Dan Rick explanation on it. It's like the more I learn, the more I feel like I don't know.
Of course.
And for years, it was really like that because it would just open up so many more questions. But I'll give you a prime example, kind of what, and I keep popping in my mind and I forget to say it, but you remember the episode you had in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, right outside of Crystal Springs, Mississippi, on your documentaries. I don't remember the gentleman's name, but
Mike and D.
Yep. My best friend from high school lives right outside Crystal Springs, Mississippi. Just his family land, been on generations. And he inherited it. They went, everything's fine and dandy. Don't talk to him like I used to, but if I mention this subject around him, I just can't get the head shake and that look, the eye, like what are you talking about, So one day I just I asked him, I said, do you not ever hear whoops? Do you not ever hear tree knocks? Do you not, I just named off a bunch of stuff. He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what do you think's doing it? And he's like, I don't know, but it's not Bigfoot. And I was like, that's the epitome of an answer of somebody that's just there. You're not ready to accept it. Right. My ex-wife, I heard when I was still married up in northern Madison County, we got screamed at right off Persimmon Creek, which feeds into the Big Black River. We both working at night at a car plant here, local. We had just been up for a brief period of time. We're both smoking a cigarette outside, and one screams from that creek. I literally, when I turned around to ask her, "Did you hear that?" She was coming past me, going back in the house. And 3 days later, she was back to not believing again. So that's somebody that actually heard, and it was one of the best. I wish I had it recorded because it was just right there and so unexpected. And it was just one of them just quiet late summer evenings, just getting dark. But that's somebody that within 3 days talked themselves into, and I never really, we were kind of on the outs at that point in time, so I never really got detailed, on why she, went that way with it. But I know that she heard it. I know she believed and talked about it for a couple of days. And then around that third day, I think, whether her brain just didn't want to accept it anymore, or it was just easier for her to deal with.
Right.
Who knows? And that may, and I can understand that. I can totally understand that.
Well, people want to blind themselves. And then I mentioned this one at the end of the film. There's just certain things people have a willingness to blind themselves to. Mm-hmm. They don't want to believe it. They don't want to know what's going on out there. They want to maintain their own blissful ignorance. And you're right. It is absolutely understandable. But deep down, they have to have some semblance of awareness. If they've watched anything at all on the subject, then there has to be at least that reference point for when you're out there and you're having those things you can't explain going on. There's a reference for you. Even whether you want to believe it or accept it or not, it's still there, and that's all that matters. Lanita Bryant, SP, says, Kerry, I'm a friend of Cam Buckner. Todd Standing, Cam, Mark, Salt SPs came to see me. I have known my Sasquatch since 1994. Well, email me. I'd love to talk to you. BigfootOdyssey@gmail.com. We're getting ready to wrap this up. We're a little bit over. I didn't mind running over, but I do have work tonight, and I'm by myself for the next week. So I got to get up early in the morning. But If you have an encounter, anything you want to talk about, you can email me, bigfootodyssey@gmail.com. We'll set you up. Again, doesn't have to be anything epic. Just an experience you had and you want to come talk about it. Again, you don't have to show your face. You don't have to put your real name. We just want to hear your voice telling it. And
because it helps other people and it brings more awareness. And
I learned more things just by this, Back
most of the time,
back in the day, we weren't spoiled like we are today with the shows that we have. We're blessed.
Right. There's plenty. There's plenty to go around, and
back in the day, you had to really pick. You didn't have it a few. And I learned so much. I'm not a member of Sasquatch Chronicles like I used to be, paying member, but I was for a long time.
Yeah. Well, you got the app now. You got the app now. So
I learned so much from him. I mean, and so I appreciate what he did in that area.
We're all standing on West Germer's shoulders right now. And look, the more the merrier. I don't think there can be enough places that anybody can go and get information. Your own perspective on this creature, because there's just not a lot of stuff we can actually know and actually pin down about them. It's like I say, the immutable characteristics appear to be the same, but outside of that, as long as you have the idea that they're out there, I think that's really all that matters. But hey, Barry, we appreciate you coming on. Brad, awesome show as always.
Thank you so much.
Dixie Dobbins, 11 years old. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dixie.
Happy birthday, Dixie.
Absolutely. And go check out, I talked about Tommy Eugene. He actually wrote a book about his encounter. It's on Sasquatch Chronicles, episode 442. It's called, you can find it on Amazon. It's called The Agony of One Child's Weeping. He actually wrote about his being saved by Sasquatch. So probably worth checking out. And hopefully we'll be able to talk to Tommy if he decides to come on the show here one day. But go check out, again, the app, Sasquatch Chronicles app. It's the coolest thing. It's so simple and easy. Thanks to everyone who's put in for the Needy family. We're going to leave that open until December the 15th. You'll find links through the chat. There's a link in the description that just says donate. Everything that goes in there will go to them. So we appreciate you all very much. Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Brad. Hope to see you guys here Sunday, 5:00 p.m. Central for Sunday Encounters. I put 168 hours in the title, and we didn't talk very much about that, did we? That's all right. We got room for you to come back.
Hey,
so
yes, we do.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Love having you here, Barry.
Absolutely. We appreciate you. Everybody, y'all have a safe weekend.